Hello, my name is Dan Sullivan. I'm a student at Trident University in the Masters of IT Management program. The topic of my capstone project is IT-based task management solutions. Discussion topic areas are task management definition, task management key areas, task management issues to avoid, socio-technical system theory principles for task management. I will provide an example task management dashboard-based solution that I have come up with that applies to my organization. And I will wrap it up with a few words on how to pursue a better task management solution. The definition of task management is relatively simple. It's basically looking at a process of managing a task through its life cycle. It has a defined action to be accomplished, as a completion time, a start time. It's assigned out to people of responsibility for answering a task, and it follows some type of user workflow process, as you see to the right, the circle to the right with the blocks. The goal here is to make the task management process more virtual, minimizing resources and completing the task quickly and more efficiently. Just to look at our key things that make up a good task management solution is a well-defined and functioning workflow, defining if it is a task or not, and making sure that you provide clear guidance and prioritization to the task, and making sure that the interface that you're using is simple and that everyone understands it and it doesn't create friction and frustration. If you think about this and from a socio-technical system theory perspective, all these areas are natural SDS theory issues when you're coming up with IT solutions. Some of the things, sometimes the best way to build something is to realize what to avoid. For task management tools, you need to avoid having a lack of guidance. Guidance is very critical. We'll talk about that a little bit later. Also, you need to avoid shotgun assigning, and that's basically just sending it out to everyone, not doing anything else who it actually needs to go to, and make sure you're not creating a little bit of stress with people that have no idea what you're talking about, because it doesn't apply to them. Again, stress is always associated with timelines. Especially when you have short suspenses or unrealistic suspenses. So the task management authority needs to be in tune with that and really make sure that they don't sit on the task and give as much time as possible to the people who actually have to answer the task to get it done. Displaced and multiple editing, all that really is talking about is, anytime somebody has to chop on the document, make an edit, if you have multiple versions of it floating around, it's just going to create delays. So ideally you have a place where you can put the document, everybody can work on it, some type of control so you don't have people working on it that don't need to be working on it. And all that can be built into the IT solution. So the key there is to have an efficient IT solution or avoid having an inefficient IT solution, and make sure that you're incorporating SDS theory. It's not always our design is thinking of it from a user's perspective. And I'll talk a little bit more about focusing on the user when building the solution. It's kind of my bottom-up theory of looking at things. If you look at building any type of IT solution, the interface has to be easy to use. The one that we're currently using at my agency is very cumbersome and painful. In fact, it hasn't been updated in over 10 years. It's just not keeping up with the current technology, and it's not working well at all. The workflow must be designed around the IT system itself, its limitations and capabilities, but most of all the user, because that's the one who's operating the technology. And again, that's basic SDS theory principles. You want to tailor whatever solution you have, task manager solution, to the organizational processes. I'm not sure if there's a way to build one that is a one-size-fit-all. There must be some type of build into the solution that applies to the specific culture of the organization. And part of that is testing. When you purchase a solution, a TM solution, you need to test it with the population that has to use it so that some tweaking can be done. Or go out and get a new IT solution if that one's just not going to work. I talked about workflow. Workflow needs to be well defined and function well. Again, I talked about the bottom-up principle, and that is focus on the user, because that's the person who's going to do most of the work. And then you build that workflow process up to the person that is going to be the task management authority. I believe that is a much better way in designing a workflow, especially related to task management. It has to be interactive. I talked about that earlier, a repository for the documents or the action that can be worked on without sending it back and forth, emailing back up and down. That just doesn't make sense anymore with shared directories where everyone can access the file. Again, there needs to be some type of quality control on that, and version control is a very important issue. Again, if that's not done properly, the final product that gets turned in sometimes isn't really the final product. It's not the one everyone made the edits to, but the wrong version got posted and didn't end up the way it was supposed to. And also version tracking capability, some type of way that everyone can visually look at the status of the tasker and where they're going to go, where it's going to go next. Defining the task is very important. Of course, all my topic areas are important, but whoever the tasking authority is needs to really look at it closely and make sure it's easy to understand. Again, as mentioned earlier, has guidance attached to it and a priority. Some things don't need to be a task. So, the tasking authority needs to be the man or woman that sits there and says, wait a minute, this doesn't make sense. Let's not throw this into the tasking system. A guy I worked with did some analysis, and I think he came up with it takes about 40 hours to answer a task, 40 man hours. So something that can be simply handled with a phone call or an email, instead of putting into the labor-intensive tasking system, it should be done that way, as informally as possible if it's not a task. Maybe there needs to be some criteria established. Task discipline, that's part of the whole idea of looking at the task. Also, it applies to suspenses. You need to be disciplined about how much time you take analyzing the task and how much time you allow others to answer the task. And also, the discipline covers, making sure that when you're the person answering the task, you're disciplined enough to thoroughly answer the task and not just, answer it quickly and, to check the block, because that task will end up coming back and it will take a lot more time to get it done. The third key area we're going to discuss is guidance and prioritization process. Again, these are probably the most critical topic areas you got to have when you're sending out taskers. You got to put guidance with the task. A lot of times it's the tasking authority is in a hurry to get the task out, doesn't take the time to analyze it. All that does is create more problems with the people trying to answer it. They've got to come back and ask questions. They don't understand it. They put it off. Good guidance is required for most tasks. Some don't require a whole lot of guidance, but the ones that do, you really got to take the time, make sure people understand what's wanted. Prioritization, got to have some type of prioritization process other than just a suspense state. You got to really have some type of system, like a coded system, color codes, a letter code, number code, something that says these tasks are more important than the other tasks. I have a concept built into my model that you'll see in a few slides. Also, you can't just fire and forget. That's back to just spending a little extra time making sure that everyone understands what you're asking from. and me versus them. It's so easy. And, you know, when you have something that requires expenses, naturally there's stress built into that because you're forcing people into a timeline. A lot of times things have short suspenses and everybody's panicking and get them done. You get people breathing down your neck. The tasking authority needs to understand that when they send out a quick turnaround tasker, that it's going to create a lot of stress. So it's up to them to take a good look at the task, make sure they've given proper time, even if it's a short tasker to be filled, to get the thing done. And don't scream and yell when it's late, because maybe it's something you did on your end, or maybe there's some other mitigating factors, such as key people might be on vacation, not in the office to answer the task. So, guidance, prioritization are very critical, but also understanding what is going on with the people answering the task is important. The user interface has to be simple. Tasking is a complicated system itself, because it's a lot of people have to get their hands on this thing, and a lot of communication has to be done. So you got to make sure it's assigned properly using good guidance and some type of prioritization system. It needs to be visually tracked, have an entry point for document drop and to work on, in a sharing type environment. And there needs to be some type of alert system that keeps everybody informed of changes or the status of the task itself. So what I've come up with is a simple example color-coded dashboard capability based on priorities. So just looking, this would be what a computer screen would look like. You pull up the task management dashboards, you get the priority ones in red, the lesser priority ones in yellow, all others in orange, and then in green is where the complete taskers stay for about 30 days, and then they move to some type of historical folder. What would be key here is having some type of alert system, like the red block would blink the day before the task is due, alerting to someone that it's coming up on the last minute, can make sure it's ready to go. The taskers themselves, once they're complete, they would automatically move to the next level or into the complete task folder. Task and attached document can be edited from the color folder with permissions, so not everybody actually can touch the task. There needs to be some type of control who can provide inputs. In my model here, once you go to the certain category, the red, you press on that, and that takes you to the actual work going on behind the tasker. So what you would have here is simple Excel spreadsheet design, and that is, you have a tasker number, the description, who it's assigned to, the suspense, how far complete the tasker is, and remarks. So you have a little color code for the percent complete, red being not really complete, less than 50%, yellow being greater than 50%, and green means complete. Now, this would be interactive, so there's actually stuff that would be going on behind the scenes here. You could, for example, in the description itself, you may have should have an ability to go back and pull documents of similar taskers, or if this is a recurring tasker, there'd be a capability built into it to go back and pull the last version out. Maybe it was done the previous quarter, or maybe it's done every quarter, and you can pull existing documents out that maybe just need to be updated or at least used for a reference. The percent complete, so the green box would be once it's submitted. It would hang there for maybe till, well, it would hang there, stay green until the approval authority who you sent it to comes back and accepts it. If they don't accept it, that box can be automatically turned yellow by the approving authority, or it will automatically be turn yellow when he rejects it, he or she rejects it. And that means you can understand the status and start working on it again to make sure it's completed in accordance with the guidance from the approving authority. Now, all this could be based on, your current operating system. For my example, is based on Microsoft operating system, SQL Server, SharePoint, MS Office, and MS Outlook. And very simple design. I don't think there's a lot of software changes that would have to be done to make this a whole new software program itself. Maybe there could be, but I'm not that technical about software development to go into it. I am basing what I think should happen on the tools that we currently have, and just might need some tweaking. To wrap this all up, the bottom line is task management software solutions must be simple, streamlined, well-defined, interactive, and responsive. At first glance, most of this can be done just by modifying existing MS applications, as I discussed. Got to use SDS theory when you're designing any type of solution, IT solution. And I would say for task management, you need to focus from the bottom up, user up to management, to create a more efficient and effective design. And then test and tweak before you do any implementation. All right, my contact information using my university email is daniel.fsullivan@my.trident.edu. Hopefully, if you're in the task management business, you have found this useful. I am going to try to see about a way of recommending this to my organization because we got a lot of work to do in solving our task management issues. And I believe that our current task management IT solution is inefficient and not getting the job done. Again, thank you for your time, and hopefully this was helpful. Bye now.